So I hope that most of you have attended the demo session. So today I will start the our usual session. And however, in the demo session, we talked about the agenda in a very detailed manner. I will not repeat that, but I will just quickly brief whatever the chapter we have, and then I will start the first chapter. So the entire agenda has been divided into several chapters. Otherwise, it is very difficult to do the things in a proper organized manner. So the first chapter which we have, that is MDG introduction. Under that we have a very basic fundamental understanding about MDG, some out-of-box configurations for supplier, material, customer, finance, etc. And then we have data model and the related data model uh, configurations, the implementations, enhancement, and whatever the relative details we have, that we will talk about in the data model chapter. I'm not going into that much of detail, uh, but I have already talked about in the demo session. And anyway, whenever we will enter into the respective uh, uh, chapter, we will talk about that. Similarly, process model, we will talk about different processes like create, change, mark for deletion, how to configure them in MDG framework, and then uh, the change request, business activity, and the properties of change request, and many more other things. Then UI model, we will talk about the basically MDG UI framework. So how to build that framework? By default, MDG provide with FPM, floor plan manager. So this chapter we will restrict ourselves with FPM. So we will see that how the entire UI can be built up uh, along with buttons, tab, along with some UIVB. What are the other techniques we have, and then how we can make it customized, uh, some conditions we can put. So there are a lot of factors so that we will talk about here. Then search and duplicate check. So the different type of searches, its configurations, duplicate check, and many more other things we will talk about this chapter. Then workflow. So here in this chapter we are going to talk about mainly the business rules and the rule-based workflow. So BRA plus and the rule-based workflow. And also we will talk about MDG roles, the importance of MDG roles. And validations and derivation chapter is the continuation chapter of the workflow modeling, where we will talk about the different services, different bodies, etc. Okay. And then data replication and import. Here we are going to talk about the replication process, import process, uh, particularly the consolidation, mass processing. So these are all. And in the enrichment chapter, basically we are going to touch upon few things like yes, consolidation, SAP Fiori, and some case studies, uh, some generic issues, etc. So these are all under the enrichment chapter. So this is how the whole agenda has been divided. Uh, Still, if you have any question, I would like to say that first you go back to the demo session, because we don't want to discuss the same thing again and again. Rather, we will continue uh, with the topic. So I request you, if someone is attending the session first time and did not attend the demo session for some reason, so I would like to request you, please go through the demo session I'm quite sure that 80% of your questions will be answered from there itself. And if you have 10-20% still, we can definitely discuss, or you can mail to coordinator. We will respond to it as soon as possible. So today I'm going to start with the SAP MDG introduction. I will not stretch the session because today is the first day. So we'll take an hour session, not more than that. But mainly I will take weekly once about 3 hours. Okay. Uh, Down the line, I'm expecting that uh, the second part of February, I might have some time and some time on March. So probably based on my availability, I will definitely uh, see if I can at least give 1 hour or 2 hour on Sunday. Okay, but at this moment, we will stick on Saturday for 3 to 4 hours. Okay, so you can understand because we are meeting weekly once, so we will try to cover up maximum question answers, because it's not just about one-way communication. Rather, we will uh, we will listen what kind of questions you have in your mind, if need a certain clarification or certain doubts. So those things definitely we will take care. So the idea is first, so in the following session when we will meet, the first half an hour or 20 minutes or whatever, okay, we will try to cover up whatever the open questions we have, and then we will start our regular discussion. So this is the format we will follow. And also we will try to uh, utilize as much as possible time, because we have just uh, uh, 3 to 4 hours in a week. So anyway, so in the introduction chapter, today the first topic which we have, the purpose of MDG for business management and governance. So the categorically, if I start with the question, if you go to any interview or if you face your client, the very first question which will arise, that why MDG? Why you are not, let's say you are sitting with a client for the first time engagement, and your client is not make up the mind, and they are still tossing with some different applications for their business. Then your goal is to somehow convince them for MDG. So how we will convince them? So the first question which will come, that is why MDG? Why not MDM, or why not other application? Okay, because MDM also having different versions like IBM MDM, Informatica MDM. There are a lot of different type of MDM, and they are also having a good, the the good uh, application framework they have to build up something or implement something. So we have to answer in such a way that the person to whom we are convincing, he will at least convince about the framework. So if particularly I will answer this, uh, the first thing is why I should choose MDG. Because if you see that the first, if you see any kind of business across the industry, if I look back 10 years or 20 years or 30 years back, that time having the data was a big challenge. But over the period of time, we have now a huge amount of data across the industry. But now the challenge is different. The challenge is that we must have organized data, whether it is a customer data or material data or finance data, whatever it has to be in a proper organized manner. So in order to organize them, we need certain application. and obviously SAP will be the one of the best option for that. Uh, Now in SAP, which module they will go? Whether it's just a normal ABAP or CRM or SRM or any other module? No. Whenever the master data comes into the picture, the first module which comes into the picture in SAP world, that is MDM, Master Data Management. And this MDM is now replaced with MDG. Okay, because now SAP has clearly mentioned that we will switch from MDM to MDG. So MDG is the option for the master data management and governance. So that's the reason I would always recommend that any kind of master data management and governance area, if I'm going to deal with, I must go with SAP MDG. So that is the short and simple answer to anyone. Then slowly we will get into what we have in MDG, what we don't have in MDG, what we can offer best, etc. So then let's continue with some slides. So master data management and master data governance. So as I was talking about, like master data management. So the first module which came for master data in SAP, that was MDM, master data management. In MDM, basically we have, in fact because it is, I don't think so it's 100% shut down. Still it is running. The plan was on 2020 to completely switch the business to MDG, but I think still it is continued for certain reason. So in MDM, we have a different type of tools like console, data manager, import manager, and syndicator, etc. And by using those tools, what we do, so like if I talk about console basically we create the table structure, the different data type we maintain the fields, we maintain the images, etc. Then next is the data manager. The data manager, we maintain the data respect to the table, respect to the different structures. And then coming to import manager, by using the import manager we load the data to MDM, and then by syndicator we replicate the data from MDM to the outer world, means whatever the target system we have. So this is all about MDM. Okay, however we don't need to understand MDM here, so that's not I'm just explaining verbally, and we don't need to deal with their different tools as well. But basically in MDM, what we can do, if I talk about in some bullet points, first is we can create something, we can change something, we can manage something, we can delete something, okay, some sort of master data, and also we can do some calculations, some derivations, validations, etc., and many more other things. So then over the period of time, industry has been experienced that MDM is not up to the mark, because it has a lot of shadow area, okay, and because the business was or the rather I say the industry was expecting some complex solutions to be done in a very simple manner. So that's what SAP came up with the module, which is MDG, Master Data Governance. So basically, if I talk about MDM, MDM is on top of C++, where MDG is on top of ABAP and object-oriented ABAP. So this is one of the strengths of MDG, because every logic which we are building in MDG, that is either with ABAP or object-oriented ABAP. And then it has like data model, UI, process model, And by using those different approaches, we can maintain the data, we can change the data, we can delete the data, so, and we can do many more other things. So that is all about MDM and MDG. Now coming to the particularly the governance area. So what exactly the MDG offering? So MDG is offering, there are a lot of things, like first is the framework. In MDG, so what happens that in ABAP system, let's say, or in ECC system, you are trying to create one material master. So you directly go to MM01 transaction, you create the material, you save it, and that goes to the system, or that goes to the respective database table, which is for material, it's a Mara table. But the thing is, whatever the data you are creating or you are changing, there is no one to validate whether that is correct information, whether that is correct for the organization. No one is there. You just go to the transaction, fill it, save it, and that will go and save to the respective table. But in MDG, it's not like that. MDG will provide you a compact framework which will have a different approval procedures. Okay, so if today I'm trying to create something, there will be a several levels before me. They will validate my data. Okay, based on the different organizations, the levels will be differ. Some organization may have 3 levels, some organization may have 5 levels, or some organization may have 1 level. But there will be a proper structured framework which will validate your data before you entered it into the actual system. So that is one side, that is the framework. Second is reusability. So any kind of data which I am using in MDG, that I can reuse it again and again. Next is the data distribution process. So the way, if I create some data, and that data can be centrally distributed across the landscape to the ECC system, to APO system, to S4HANA system. Okay, so that is one thing. And obviously some nowadays it's not only SAP on premises, also it's SAP MDG on cloud. So that benefit we have. Okay, so basically what is the benefit of this governance system? The benefit is proper framework, transparency, reusability, replication, the advanced replication process, and the data quality check, kind of a data validations, derivations we have. We can obviously check the data, so data quality maintained, and many more other things. Okay. Now the thing is, we are talking about the data. Now how many different types of data we have? By the way, this first chapter is little bit theoretical. Okay, so if you expect that we will start exploring the system, yes, definitely in out-of-box configuration we will have that space to go to the system and look into it. But honestly speaking, this chapter is a very fundamental chapter. It will build up your fundamental concept, but not very much exposure to go to the system, which will start basically from the next chapter. Okay, otherwise people may think that why I'm just verbally talking about. No, this is not the way which will continue. This is just for the first chapter. Okay, now how many different type of data we have? It is just a master data which MDGs deal with. Yes, primarily master data, but it is just not the master data which MDG deal with. Apart from master data, we also deal with reporting data, which we share with BW system, S4HANA system. We deal with transactional data, which we share with some financial information. Master data as usual, like customer, vendor, material, finance, etc. And then the reference data. Reference data means uh, payment method, payment terms, unit of measure, material type, currencies. So these are all different reference data. Okay. So these are all different type of master data structures we have, and all are supported by MDG. Okay. So MDG can talk with BW system, MDG can talk with S4 HANA system, MDG can talk with APO system, can talk with MM, then ECC may have MM, finance and everything. So all those modules also can be associated with MDG. And whenever the MDG will come into the picture, always, let's say for an example, some project may have material master data in MDG. So from MDG, you can implement your data, means you can create it, you can change it. So the question is, still they will use MM03 or MM02 or MM01. Yes, MM03 they can use for display purpose, but whether they will use again MM01 for create, MM02 for change, MM05 for block and block, MM06 is for mark for deletion, whether it will continue like this? Not at all. Once you have the framework, MDG framework in place, you have to follow the MDG framework itself. So all your master data you will create through MDG, and that data will go to the ECC system, APO system, S4 HANA system, whatever the target system you have. In fact, it can also go to the MDM system as well. So now, the capabilities, as I was talking about, like first is out-of-box delivery. Out-of-box delivery means there are a lot of different type of business functions, web pro services, authorization object, which are available in MDG framework. Second is integrated object model. Okay, so it is very much compact model. So all the data are aligned with each other. Governance process, the one which I was talking about, the framework. Like if I create something, then before me there will be several approval procedure. Then data quality, we have a data validations, data derivations, as I mentioned. Then replication, the robust data replication, the centralized replication process across the landscape. And then reusability and extensibility, that is. So these are all few points which makes MDG a very important system. Now MDG overview. So how it look like? So MDG, first of all, there can be a different type of framework, which we will talk about little later. But the first thing is, if I assume that MDG itself is one compact system, okay, one end-to-end system, then there can be some source system. Okay, so it can be some normal ECC system, CRM system, MDM system, any kind of a system, or non-SAP system in fact. So from source system, what I need? From source system, let's say my business was initially in Oracle. Now the business has been decided to go with SAP, and that is to SAP MDG. In that case, whatever the material they have created in their business, or whatever the supplier they have created in their business, and its peripheral data, it's not about just material or supply data. It is peripheral. It is also having hundreds of peripheral data. So those records will require to move to the MDG level, because as I mentioned, the moment MDG came into force, all the existing data needs to be changed or updated through MDG, or all the new records which you are going to create, that will be done through MDG. Okay, so that's what source can share the data to MDG, and MDG will have a different procedures, like approval procedure is one, then you have data validations, data derivations, then workflow process you have, and then finally your data gets active, and from there you send the data to some target system. So your target system can be ECC system, MDM system, APO system, S4HANA system, whatever. And in those systems you can share the data. Okay. Then SAP MDG Central Governance Simplified Process Flow Description. As I mentioned, that let's say I'm a requester. So being a requester, if I submit one request, that request will go to next uh, 3 to 4 people to get the approval. So we can call them as a verifier or approver 2 or some custodian, whatever. So those different 3-4 levels who is before me, they will validate my data, and based on the validations they will approve them or they will reject them. Okay, and this way my data will continue and finally it will activate. Then this is the architectural overview. So basically whatever we have. Okay. Okay. So we have basically two type of architectures. One is the hub architecture. Another one is the MDG on top of ECC or co-deployment architecture. I will come to the different type of architecture, but before that I will talk about the architecture which majorly use, which is this one. And this architecture we call it as a hub architecture, MDG hub, or we call it as a MDG hub concept. So what is MDG hub concept? Hub concept is, this is your whole MDG system. So that means your MDG system is a completely standalone, separate hub system. Okay. Then you have the left hand side and the right hand side, what you see, that is nothing but source and destination, source and target. In the source system, it can be MDM, ECC, or some non-SAP system, okay, where basically you source the data. It can be your historical data. It can be your, let's say, when you are moving to MDG's framework, you will be required some peripheral data. Like for an example, if I talk about supplier, you need the account details. You need the payment terms, payment method, the other informations, okay, currencies. So those information you need to first feed in MDG system, which will be your reference data, basically. Okay. So those data will come from where? Those data will come from your source system, because in the source system you are already using those data, and obviously some new records you can create. That is one thing. Secondly, apart from those peripheral record, you also, as I mentioned, that some historical data you need to maintain. Like in past, whatever the customers or suppliers or material you have created, that you need to dump here. So down the line, if that particular existing material if someone is trying to change, they have to change through the MDG process, not the other old process which they are using since. Okay, so that is the thing. So we have a source system basically. Then we have target. So once you process the data in MDG, then you can move to the target system. The target system, as I mentioned, it could be ECC or MDM or CRM, SRM, whatever, non-SAP system. Normally it will be ECC system, honestly speaking, or along with your S4HANA, APO, BW, etc. This is the standard framework. Okay. Now the thing is that this is the left hand side what you see, that is source. The right hand side what you see, that is target. Now whatever you see in middle, it is purely MDG hub system. So basically they are the different system altogether. They have connections like RFC connections. Through RFC connections they connect with each other. Otherwise they are purely indigenous system. Okay. Now MDG system, here you can see the base is above, because as I mentioned that MDG, the base is always above or object oriented above. And obviously the its a version is ECC 6.0, ECC 6.0, but the version can be different because MDG version has been started from the present architecture what you see. That architecture, the version started from 6.0, then 7.0, then 8.0, then 9.0, then 9.2. As per my knowledge, it was 9.2 which was the last version or the latest version. Okay, I'm not sure whether there are any other version which released, because this is not possible like to track every version release. But more or less I can say most of the client they use 9 and above version. 9 and above version is the standard version which most of the client use, whoever is using MDG or whoever is coming to use MDG, always the recommendation will be 9 and above version. So because why 9 and above, why not below? Because the below versions does not have some functionalities, like for an example consolidation, mass processing, and then the connectivity with S4HANA, and some business functions which was not available in the previous versions. So that's the reason 9 and above we always recommend. Anyway, so now the thing is, this master data governance, it is having like the master data like finance, material, business partner contain customer and vendor, and then custom object. And along with that you have everything what you see in the chapters wise, like data model, UI model, process model, replication, search and duplicate check, workflow, key mapping, value mapping, etc. These are all. Okay. That means with all those things, you basically process the data and then you prepare the data and then you send it to some target system. Now in order to do that, you basically use two things. Either you use NetWeaver Business Client or you use SAP Fiori, which is mentioned as an option, because obviously because it is not a mandatory. But nowadays most of the project they are slowly moving to Fiori. Not every project, but slowly most of the projects are going to Fiori because it has some benefits or some advantages than NetWeaver Business Client. Okay. Anyway, that I will talk about whenever the time will come. So this is how the architecture and how they connect with each other. Two things. One is if you are trying to connect with ALE IDOC, process if you are following, then it can be connect with the RFC. Even the another approach which we have, that is the SOA manager, which is web services, which we call web services SOA manager. So that is also one of the technique of the data replication, which we will also cover. Okay, so basically two type of replication is possible. One is ALE ad hoc replication, or approach we take for the replication, or another approach is the web services approach. In web services also you need the RFC connection and then web services configuration, which will basically help to connect and replicate the data in between the systems. Okay, so basically you take the data from source, you process it, and you send it to the target system. This is how the whole chain runs. Okay, now in this hub approach, what is the benefit? Why most of the project they go with the hub approach? The reason is, let's say tomorrow you are going to upgrade the version from let's say enhancement package 7 to 8, or version 9 to 9.0, or 8 to 9, whatever. In that case, what you can do, the first thing which you can do to make this process simple and make sure that no data loss or something happen, to just ensure that you first disconnect the connectivity between MDG to source and MDG to target. Why you need to disconnect? Because disconnection will help your system to stop communicating with source and target. So then you do whatever you want. You can upgrade it, you can refresh it, whatever you want. Okay, so that's the, and then once everything done, then you start building the connectivity again. Okay, just you need to build the RFC connection, because rest of the things will be as it is. So that's the benefit to having the hub approach. Okay, so this is the MDG high level architectural overview. And okay, before I move, I would like to stop here, and if you have any question, please raise your questions one by one, so at least I can able to answer them. Yes, if you have any question. Yeah.
Aditya, just a quick question. On a hub model, do you still need like a ERP base? Like in the diagram, it shows like SAP ERP 6.0, right? Like let's say the S4HANA.
Yes. We will be required. Basically MDG hub system. What you see here, it's a ultimately MDG is not an alien system. It's a ultimately ECC system. There you can if you're familiar with the transactions, like transaction SE11 for data dictionary, for SE80 for above workbench, for a class, for a function module, whatever the regular transaction we use in any kind of ECC system, every transaction can be accessed through MDG. So ultimately it's nothing but a ECC system itself. The only thing which MDG system has, that is some additional business functions, some additional authorizations, some additional web info services, which make the MDG framework available for you, which you may not get in normal ECC, because you don't have those business functions, you don't have those web info services, you don't have those authorizations, you don't have those roles. So that's the only thing. But ultimately MDG system is a simple ECC system, which is having the MDG business functions implemented, right? So yes,
So
in
it can
order
be
to answer your question,
It can be an ECC or even
ECC
S4HANA also, right?
ECC 6.0.
Oh, it
It's
has to be.
ECC 6.0, and also now the thing is that nowadays there are a lot of most of the projects they move to S4 HANA. So you can also make it as a S4 HANA MDG. So then your base will be basically S4 HANA, and then you have MDG along with it. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other question?
I have a question.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, so you talked about using SAP Fury versus a Nadiver, um, the NWBC. So in the class, are you going to use both Fury and NWBC on the UI part?
Yes. So basically, I will talk about NWBC initially, and then enrichment chapter I will talk about SAP Fiori. Yes, both. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other question?
Aditya, sorry, I didn't attend the demo class, but will you be covering anything on the information steward also?
No. Information steward. I have no knowledge.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah. Okay. So any other question? Fine. So let's move on. Yeah, please go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to clarify. I also didn't attend the initial class. So in terms of data load, having it's not about the data load, but the data load that needs to happen in MDG. Is that something that you are going to cover?
Yes, I would like to say that particularly the question which you asked, we have already answered that in the demo session. But again, just for you, yes, we cover that. And I would like to say whoever is not attended the demo session, you can contact coordinator and try to collect the recording of the demo session, and please go through it, because it is very, very important. Because some of the people just think, oh, it's just a demo session. No, remember what we are going to discuss in next few months or a few weeks, that will have the entire summary in the demo session. Okay, so in demo session it's like the primary agreement what we are going to cover it, so you must go through it. Okay, and then from there, whatever the question you have, I just answered most of the question, because some questions are repetitive, because what you have in your mind, the other person also having the same question. In fact, if I portray myself at your place, I will also have the same question, right? So some questions are quite repetitive, quite expecting, okay? But there are some more questions which are fresh, and if you have already, as I mentioned, 80% answer, I'm sure you will get it from the demo session. Still, if you have some 10-20% fresh question which we never discuss or we never raise about it, you definitely either you mail us, or in the next session you raise it. I will definitely talk about it. Okay. So just to uh, cut the time and utilize the time, I'm just advising you all, whoever is not attended, first you collect the recording, go through the session, and then definitely we will answer all your questions, whatever you have in your mind. And also try to collect the updated agenda. Okay, this agenda which I was going through, this one. Because this agenda, if you go through, you will understand what exactly we are covering and what we are not covering. Okay, fine. So let's continue now. Now coming to the, before I, okay, yeah, let's continue and then slowly I will come to that. Okay. So now, after the architecture, we will talk about the master data. So what are those master data primarily we need to deal in MDG? Basically, first is if I talk about the material master data. Compared to customer vendor finance, material master data volume is always very high. Okay, because it's a master data which having the widely used, because one company may have a different product, and based on the different product it will have a different master data, and that is to material master data. So that's what, compared to customer, supplier and finance, material master records are always volume wise quite high. Now if you ask me what kind of volume we can expect, it could be 2 million, 3 million based on the size of the business, okay, or less than that sometimes. Now what are those primary data we need to deal with? As far as material is concerned, we need to deal with the material basic information first. Basic information comes with material type, material group, unit of measure. These are all basic details. And then we will have the extended details like the sales org, the relative sales org, the relative plant. And then based on the relative plant, we have different MRP profile details. MRP controlling details means basically the MRP detailing. Then followed by some other details like some categorically the unit of measure details. Okay, and then you have some pricing details, etc. So these are all different data which you need to deal with along with the material master. Okay, however, I'm just explaining verbally here, but whenever we will go to the system from the particularly as I just mentioned, the next chapter itself, then slowly you can see we will develop the same. Okay. So the material master is highly used master data in MDG across the project, whatever we have. Okay. Now the question is, we have customer, vendor, material, whatever it is. Which master data we will take up first in project? It depends your business to business. If your business feel that the material data needs to be addressed first, then they should consider the material phase first, or customer phase, then customer phase first, or supplier phase, then supplier phase first. So there is no handwritten rule that it has to be go first, or it has to be go second, or it has to be go third. No, it is all depends on what your business is demanding. Okay. Next is customer master data. Customer master data, comparatively less volume of data. Comparatively means compared to material, less volume of data, but doesn't mean that it has a huge importance. Okay. And what kind of data we have? Customer master data will have first the basic information. In basic information, what kind of data you can expect? Like the address details, the communication details. Okay, address details means you have pin code, you have addresses, street, city, etc., etc. Then communication address, you have email ID, telephone number, etc. Then you have uh, the different type of roles. Okay, so role means basically the company code and the sales org. And then you have the bank details, the tax details, and then under ERP vendor you have company code and sales org. And in company code you have various details like payment details. Similarly, purchase org also you have some payment details, etc. So this is the different type of data you need to deal with customer. So you can see first is in customer general data is there where you have address, communication, bank details, tax details, etc. Then you have company code, then company code account information. Then sales org, some purchase data, etc. So this is the whole you deal with customer master data as a whole. Then coming to the supplier or vendor master. Supplier or vendor more or less same, means nothing different, just the name is different, and otherwise data wise we deal same sort of a thing. Similarly, it has the address details, communication, bank details, tax details, role details, control data, etc. Then you have company code, and then you have purchase order. Okay. In company code also you have payment details, account information. In purchase order you have purchase detail, etc. And as a whole, it is a vendor master data. Similarly, you have finance data. In finance, you have chart of account, you have company, you have cost center, you have cost center group, you have profit center, you have profit center group, etc. The different details you have. And then you can see it is kind of at a glance, where in at a glance you can see we have a finance, we have a material, we have a supplier, and apart from that we have a couple of new things, basically enterprise asset management, which is new thing which we will also talk about. Here, however, I just talked about from the very top of the things, but down the line when we will go to the data model level, then process model, then UI level, we will cover every single detailing, because obviously data model means, let's say if I go to data model, then in data model, what kind of data it has. So then slowly we will drill down with the data, with the relative fields for that particular domain. Okay, but this is a very high level, very from top of the things we just talked about. Okay, then so now if I switch to this Excel, so as I mentioned, customer master data, supplier master data, material master data, finance master data, and these are all details which it is having. Okay. Also, the importance of the data governance, like duplicate data identification, the framework, the data quality, the reusability, the out-of-box configuration. These are all which we just have seen in the slides. Then what is the difference between MDM and MDG? So the first difference is MDM, the backend is C++, where MDG is ABA. Under MDM, we have different tools, as I mentioned, like console, data manager, import manager, syndicator. While by using console, we create different structures, tables, images, etc. Data manager, we maintain the data to that particular tables. Also, obviously, apart from that, we can do some calculations, some derivations, etc. Import manager, we import the data, and syndication, we replicate the data from MDM. In MDG, we have data model, process model, UI, workflow, data validations and derivations, search and duplicate check, data import and replication, and etc. And as just we talked about, like it can be on top of the backend can be ECC or S4 HANA. Okay, and it will have some different target system, different source system, etc. And these are all different versions. So it starts with MDG 6.1, then 7.0, then 8.0, then 9.0, then 9.1, then 9.2. But we always recommend right now, if someone is starting MDG project, we always recommend 9 and above this version. Okay. Similarly, the architectural overview. So this is the hub model, which we just now have seen. In hub model, we have MDG in middle, and we have source at one side, target at another side. And we connect through RFC connection. Okay. So what happens? The source can be ABAP system, CRM system, non-SAP system, SAP MDM system, or it could be anything, where basically we are collecting the data, and that data first go to the MDG. In MDG, by using data model, process model, UI, workflow, data validation, derivation, duplicate check, search, import and export, whatever, replication. So by using this, we prepare the data and we replicate them. And we replicate to where? To the target system. And the target also may have SAP ECC, non-SAP, MDM system, APO system, BW system, could be anything. Okay, so this is the hub concept, because at any point of time, if I want to upgrade my MDG system, I just disconnect this RFC in between source and target, and my job is done. Okay, so this is how we can easily deal with the hub approach. Now another type of approach, so we have deployment options. So basically two type of deployment we have. One is MDG as hub, another one is MDG on top of ECC, which we also call it as a co-deployment. So hub approach, just now I just explained, I'm going to explain again. Now on top of ECC is something, as I was just talking about, that MDG is not an alien system. It is ultimately a ECC system or S4 HANA system. Let's for the time being, let's not talk about S4 HANA, because people may have some confusion with S4 HANA. So I'm considering it out at the point of time. Just consider ECC system. Okay. So let's say that, as I mentioned, that MDG is nothing but an ECC system. Whatever the transaction you access in ECC for data dictionary, for class, for a function module, for any executable program, for above workbench, everything you can access here as well. The only difference is that you have MDG business functions, you have MDG web info services, authorization object for MDG framework, and that's what we call the MDG system. That is what we define as a MDG hub when we call it the MDG system only. Now in code deployment, what happens? Let's say your in hub approach, what happens? In hub approach, your company having, let's say, ECC system, which is you are using as a source, but apart from that, you are also purchasing MDG system separately. And then you, as I mentioned, you move the data from source to MDG and then MDG to target. But here, sometimes what happens, customer says that I don't have budget. I don't have budget to purchase another system which is MDG system and keep it as a hub, rather than I have ECC system which is 6.0, let's say for an example, and you make it MDG system. Whatever the business functions, authorization object, webbed intro services, whatever you need, you implement in my system, which is my ECC system itself. I cannot afford a separate system. Okay. Anyhow, ultimately, I'm moving to MDG. So there is no point to again purchase another system. Okay. So in that case, what we will do, whatever the existing system customer having, the existing ECC system, let's say for an example, in that system, we will be utilizing in order to implement the MDG business functions, webbed intro services, authorization object, etc. And then once those implementation is done, then the system will be become MDG system. So here in this case, already you have one ECC system, you just make it MDG system on top of it. And then rest of the things will continue as it is. So basically in this case, this is your source and this is your MDG, because in this system only you have all the data. It's not the previous case. In the previous case, you have a separate ECC system and you purchase separately MDG system and then you exchange the data. But here in this case, source and MDG is same. Okay. Just the target is a different. Let's say BW system or a PO, other ECC system, you send the data after the processing. Now the question is, in such kind of case or in such kind of deployment, what is the risk factor? The risk factor is when you are upgrading your system from ECC to MDG, okay, there might be, if something goes wrong, your existing data, you may lose the data. So you must have a proper backup for that, and then you can go ahead. Okay, your present functionality, what you have written in ECC earlier, once MDG will come over, right, that will get clash. That might be the possibility to get clash, because you have written some validations, and MDG, the same system you are using to write MDG validations, so those validations may clash. So you have to keep in mind whenever you are writing some logic that you have to always analyze what you have written in past in this system and what you are writing at this moment. Okay, so always you have to deal with past and present, because you have the same system. Okay, and then ultimately after processing, the data will go to the target system. This is the normal, the other way in the hub approach also, whatever the process you have, the same process will continue. The only difference is this. And again, the another problem is in MDG system, if you are doing some upgrade. So today, let's say you have taken 9.0, and then after 6 months your customer is looking for 9.2 or 9.1, whatever it is. Then again you have to take the backup, you have to do the upgrade, because this is the only system which you have. So anything goes wrong, that will create an issue for you. So you have to do all those things in mind. You have to take care of all those things in the mind. Okay. So this is the co-deployment. Now the question is whether co-deployment is not prescribable. No. Definitely, it's both are welcome. It depends on what customer is looking for. But most of the customer, SAP recommend that hub approach you always go with. So at least your historical data will be safe. And then whatever you do in the hub approach, that will start from fresh. You just import the data from source to MDG and you start from fresh with the MDG system. And at some point of time, if you feel that I don't need the old ECC system, then you can terminate that. Okay. So, but it doesn't mean that none of the companies or none of the customers are using co-deployment. Yes, there are a lot of customers which they use co-deployment. Okay. So this is the different deployment options. So today, basically, if I see what are the things we have covered, purpose of MDG for business management and governance, then detailed MDG architecture with various deployment options. So I can say these two things which we have covered. However, in the next session, we will continue with the business framework for data governance and the out-of-box configuration. Okay, so today I just restrict myself here because some more participants may join. They could not able to join today. So if I go bit fast, so it will be difficult for them to cope up the things. So I just restrict myself here today. So yes, if you have any question.
Aditya, just a quick question. Like if you have MDG on the cloud, will you still have the same deployment options as a hub and co-deployment, or it's going to be a different architecture?
Same deployment, same deployment options. Yes. Okay. Any other question?
So does this the deployment and architecture varies based on the industry or the client's business? For example, if it is like retail, or it is fashion, or in case it is utilities or something else, will the deployment vary? And also you talked about earlier that there is no golden rule on how which business object you will pick, whether it's material or vendor, customers. Will it vary based on the industry of the customer?
Right. Obviously it varies, but not based on the industry specific. Rather, it's based on the customer specific. Of course, it will vary. It will vary, in fact. Okay. So, as I mentioned, that let's say some customer, they feel that they will go with hub concept because they have some certain factors. So they can go with hub. And some customers, they will think, okay, I have budget constraint and I have some factors, so I will just continue with the core deployment. So it's not based on industry wise, rather it is specific to the organization or customer. Okay. So that's my answer.
And if your role is like an MDG, say techno-functional, or you're an architect, then how do you evaluate that? What would be, if a recommendation needs to come from you, how do you approach that?
Approach to the deployment options you're asking for, or right. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So say
basically as I mentioned that from the technical, from functional, or from architect point of view, or whatever you say, and in fact I mentioned that's what as a whole SAP recommend hub approach. That's what one line I always use for this, that SAP recommend hub approach. But there is another approach which you have, that is co-deployment. And the benefit is, as I just mentioned, that in hub you can easily perform some upgrade or some refresh or all those things, okay, there is less chance of, you know, the data loss or any kind of a problem with some logic, some etc. because they are a separate indigenous system. But in co-deployment, yes, for upgrade and all those things, always you have to do the things with a proper backup. Okay, and then you need to do the follow-up activities. So just ensure that your system should be fine after refresh or after upgrade or whatever.
Got it.
Okay. Yeah.
And I have the two more questions related to the interfaces. For example, in MDG, say you create a process and you're validating material, and then if it is, say, I don't know, like say unit of measure then needs to be validated or something similar, some other field. But the a, a, a service call needs to happen, like an inbound interface needs to be built, which which will give the input to MDG. So in that case, will it still uses the SOA manager, or in that case, what is the preferred approach to build? Do we use PIPO to build the interfaces when it is, it's an inbound to MDG?
Can you frame your question a little bit? Because probably just
So,
before I answer anything, just need to
so
understand your question one more time. Yeah.
all right. Yeah, sorry for that. So I think I'm trying to understand the interfacing techniques that are available or that are preferred in MDG. So as you said, you can use SOA Manager, and you can use PIPO, and I'm talking about the web services call. So for example, you need to validate something, and then the services are built in S4 or in SAP ECC. Then uh, I I believe we will be calling that using a PIPO, or or using the SOA manager. Is there a distinction, like when to use SOA manager versus PIPO? Because SOA manager is kind of like a
Yeah, I
protected.
understand your question. I understand your question. Okay, let me answer. So first of all, that there are three things. One is from your question, there are three things. One is the SOA manager technique when we are going to use. Second thing, when we are going to use ALE IDOC approach. And third thing, when we are going to use the PI interface. Okay. So the first, if I start with SOA manager, so the web services only will be used for two things. One, for finance master data, and two, for supplier master data if you want. So supplier is in bracket if you want. So basically for supplier you still can go with ALE IDOC. But for finance you have to go with SOA manager. Okay. So that is one thing. Second thing is regarding the ALE IDOC approach. ALE IDOC approach can be taken for material master, for customer master, and for supplier master as well, not for finance. The third thing is regarding PI interface. When you have the PI interface, basically we use the PI interface at when we have the third party services in middle. Let's say for an example, uh, there are some third party services like ThinkForce, like uh, like some, I don't recall the name, but there are different type of third party services we have, right? Uh, I just forget that name. Okay, another third party services. So what they do basically, for an example, you have a material, and that material you need to register with Walmart. So Walmart use some third-party services. Let's say uh, Syncforce uh, or I remember that name, but I can't recall it at this moment. But anyway, that another services, basically Walmart, Carrefour, they use that third-party services. Anyway, uh, mm, One World Sync. Yes, I remember One World Sync. So that is another third-party services. So basically, what happened that one material, when you register to Walmart or Carrefour or such kind of organization, what they do or what the process we follow basically, from MDG you create the material, and from there you send the data to first ECC system, okay, or uh, let's say first you send to the PI, because you have the interface PI in middle, and PI send the data to uh, the third party vendor, that is either One World Sync or Syncforce, whatever you call, okay. And from the third party system, the data will get registered to the Walmart or Carrefour or Dollar Tree or whatever, okay. So this is how the thing happens. So that means whenever uh, I have the third party system in the place, that my data is uh, somehow getting registered, and the source is nothing but MDG in that case, and ultimately it is getting registered through the third party system. In that case, my approach will be definitely through PI interface. But if I'm just sending the data to ECC, my target is just ECC system or S4HANA or BW or APO. APO is nothing but is one of the ECC framework itself. BW is also nothing but a ECC framework itself. If those are my target system, definitely I will not go with PI approach. Rather, I will directly use ALE IDOC or SOA manager, whatever it is. Because as I just mentioned, SOA manager means for finance master data and supplier, if you want, in bracket. And ALE IDOC means material master, supplier master, customer master. I can easily replicate from MDG to ECC system or APO system or BW system or S4HANA system. Okay, so this is the reason why we have PI in place, and when we need PI, and when we need area IDOC, and when we need SOA manager, right?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Any other question? Okay. So if there is no question, then what I'm going to do, so this document, this PPT and this Excel will be available for you in the shared drive, okay? Because the thing is that every day whatever we are discussing here, it's not possible for me to exchange the document in a weekly basis. Rather, what we have done, we have already created one shared drive folder, and there we have chapter wise all the documents, okay. And you just need to go through those documents, okay. Whatever the document I'm just following today, just go there, take the document, and just see whatever we have discussed, right? So we will continue from here, where we are stopping today. and next session will be next week. Okay, timing we will communicate. Probably it will be a bit early. That means today we have started 9:30 India time. I will try to start by 8 o'clock, but let's see. I'm not confirming at this moment. Rather, I will confirm uh, by Thursday or sometimes like that. Okay. Okay. Thank you. If you have any question, you can definitely mail coordinator. We will try to answer as soon as possible, or we can discuss directly in the next session. Fine.